Shannon Sharpe, we've talked hours and hours and hours on this show about Michael Jordan.
Yes.
As he compares to LeBron James. Mm-hmm. And I have said 1,001 times on this show that Michael Jordan is the rarest athlete I've ever encountered or closely observed. So here's the point today, as Jen just mentioned. When most ex-superstars turn 60 years of age, their fame is almost always fading.
Yes.
And Michael Jordan...
Or faded.
Faded. It's gone. It can be gone. Michael Jordan at 60, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, is bigger than ever.
Yeah.
He's even larger and larger than life because his legend somehow continues to grow. And I would like to thank LeBron James and you, Shannon Sharpe, because I do believe that the Michael versus LeBron GOAT debate actually keeps Michael's name more relevant than ever because we talk about him, it seems like, every day on this show. So, as Jen pointed out, his sneaker line is hotter and hotter than ever, with retros dropping, it seems like, every other day.
Yes.
And you love them. You love your LeBrons, but you love these, and I live for them. And so the point is, he first wore the ones I just displayed, the ones in his rookie year. How many rookies have a shoe deal? I'll get to that in 1 second. But he wore them in 1984. We're almost 40 years later, and the legend grows.
Right.
So would you believe that about 6 weeks from today, a new movie is going to open called Air? Rarest air, but it's Air, and it's about how Nike changed history by fighting to recruit Michael away from Adidas because he wanted to sign with Adidas. Right. And this movie is going to star Ben Affleck as Phil Knight, the CEO and impresario of Nike, and Matt Damon as Sonny Vaccaro, who was the sort of the Nike recruiter who brought him to Nike and went and knocked on the door of Michael's mother to say, hey, you need to do this. And Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, is going to play Mrs. Jordan, Michael's mother. Yeah. So it's still happening. And Michael's timing has always been, to me, the rarest because it's magical. Because what happened when the pandemic hit and we're all locked inside and we needed something to take us away from the relentless sort of horror of the pandemic, and right on schedule.
Everybody had cabin fever, so.
Cabin fever. And what happened? Here came, wait a second, The Last Dance? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're interested in that. And it became, to me, even bigger than Tiger King was. And I don't know if you watched Tiger King.
I do remember Tiger King,
okay,
yes,
but
absolutely.
that became its rival. And what was it about? It was really going behind the scenes with Michael Jordan in his final year in Chicago. Right. And he even prefaced it by saying, I'm not sure people are going to love me for this. Right. And
he knew.
He knew because you jumped all over it. We got to see the real Michael Jordan, the one I covered in 1998 in Chicago as the lead columnist of the Chicago Tribune. Not a nice guy. Yeah. Behind the scenes.
Not to be like Mike guy that was advertised.
He's a ruthless, cold-blooded, relentless basketball killer. Yes. And he drove his teammates nearly over the edge, but he drove them to championships.
He did.
Different ways to do it. Yeah. LeBron chooses another direction. Yes. LeBron's a really nice guy. Sometimes argue he's almost too nice of a guy. Right. And yet, somehow, Michael's legend grew. Somehow, I reflect back on his career and I say, right on time, he's a freshman at the school that you were the biggest fan of, North Carolina. And I was there in 1982 in New Orleans. I was courtside, and it was the greatest collection of college basketball talent I'd ever seen on one floor. Yes. Carolina versus Georgetown. And who hits the game winner? Yeah. The kid made it. And at that point, he was Mike Jordan, and he became, after that night, what he was, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, you had 2 number 1 overall draft picks, Patrick Ewing and James Worthy. I think Jordan went 3rd overall. I think Sam Perkins went top 5. They were loaded. You have Sleepy Floyd was in that draft.
A very good NBA scorer. And everything seemed right on time all the way up to the '87 dunk contest when Michael was the first one to take off from the free throw line. Now it's just sort of commonplace, but he took off and it became that flying pose where it looked like he was literally flying.
It was pose, Skip, because if you remember, I think it might have been '77. Dr. J took off from the free throw line.
But somehow it didn't capture the imagination
it was
like
Jordan
this.
when he took off because he had the ball like this, and it was almost like he was flying.
He was flying, and right on time came. Do you remember? You're certainly old enough to remember this. The Mars Blackman Nike ads.
It's got to be the shoes.
It's Spike Lee, and he's kind of sitting on Michael's shoulder like a little spirit, you know, and. Money, it's got to be the shoes. Well, it is. It's got to be the shoes. And it was the perfect branding of what became Jordan Brand because kids started thinking, if I buy those sneakers, I can fly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, that even took off. And then here came, it was, 96? Michael was the first, to me, the first superstar athlete to break completely out, to cross completely over, and to star in his own Disney movie. I mean, it's a cartoon movie, as you know. It's Space Jam.
A lot of CG because he's in there with animation.
But it was revolutionary.
Yes.
So here he went again. He's crossing over, breaking through, right on time. I'd never seen anything like that. I actually really liked it.
Right.
We went back and forth about LeBron. He pulled his off. Okay, but. The actors that I knew up to that point who'd been ex-athletes were Jim Brown, who had some pretty big roles.
Yeah,
and
the Dirty Dozen.
He was pretty great.
Absolutely.
100 Rifles. I just love that. I don't know. Michael, he just transcended all of that with this.
Yes.
And then, obviously, he goes to 6 finals and he wins all 6, and he's got 6 MVPs, and he's got the walk-off moment at Utah in Game 6. It's like you couldn't script it better. So this is just me. In my life and times, the many years I've been closely observing sports and loving sports with all my heart and soul, for me, this is just my side of the table. There have been 3 transcendent figures in sports who, on rare competitive drive, rose above all the rest. And there are many, many great ones, including LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. I can go on. But for me, it was Ali.
Okay.
Then it was Jordan.
Tiger.
And now it's Tiger. And listen, what Tiger Woods did yesterday, birdieing the last 3 holes, I know a lot of people don't love golf, but at Riviera, having not played a second of competitive golf after nearly killing himself in a car wreck 2 years ago right here after this tournament, to go out there and compete with Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas in that grouping and to birdie the last 3 holes to climb back into contention at -2. It was just extraordinary because it's just who he is. It's who he's always been. It's rare air that all those 3 were in. But for me, this is just me, maybe because I had the privilege and honor of getting to know him in Chicago and being around him a little bit. Not the nicest guy. I'll be the first to tell you. Not LeBron off the court. Right. Didn't care about the off-the-court impact. He is the most supreme. He rises above even Ali and Tiger as the greatest competitor ever and the rarest athlete ever. And again, I'm dumbfounded that he has just turned 60 years of age and he is still more relevant than ever.
Yeah, he is. I think the thing for me, Skip, is that I'm listening and I can't disagree with anything that you said. But if you notice what you said he won 6 championships, and you said he won these many MVPs, and he did this and he did that. That was the last thing that you mentioned, because I believe he's most known for the shoe.
Okay.
It became a cultural phenomenon.
Obviously, the championships drove the popularity of the shoes, but go ahead.
But Skip, it was the colorway. Normally, you got a black shoe, you got a white shoe, but you didn't have the combination.
No.
And then the way he played, you're absolutely right. He was almost like he was levitating. He was flying through the air. What his shoe did, it was okay. You see people wear sneakers with tuxedos. That was black. You better not come in here with a suit and some sneakers on.
He did that.
He did that.
He
made it okay because the shoe, the Concord, the black and the white, Skip, and the cool grays and the colorways that he put together, it was just like you had to have that shoe. You were not a cool kid And my mom moved heaven and earth to get me that shoe. A $65 sneaker?
What did you get first?
The 2s were the first one that I got. That's still my look. It's not the most popular, but it's still my favorite because my mom ended up waiting in line to get it.
Okay.
$65, and then it went up to $100 for a sneaker. And now they're $225. But Skip, you look at what they sold. They was hoping to sell 100,000 pair the first year. They sold 450,000 the first month. At the time when Jordan, Skip, Adidas and Cons dominated the market in the shoe market, in the basketball market.
Absolutely.
Because Dr. J wore the Cons, and so did Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird had the weapons.
Yeah.
And a lot of the big time, Isaiah Thomas, all of the big time, they had Converse.
They did.
When he came out with that shoe, it was like the Great Migration. Everybody wanted Nike. And he changed it, Skip. You're right. I believe he's most known for the shoe because the shoe, everybody wasn't playing basketball like they do now, but they wanted that shoe. And if you got that shoe, you were it. Couldn't no one tell you anything. So I believe the reason why he's had permanence, longevity, sustainability is because of that shoe, Skip. Skip, the man hadn't played basketball in 20 damn years. And he still has the #1 shoe. Skip, you remember when athletes retired, they might have a shoe, but when they retired, ain't nobody making no more shoes for them. They still make Jordan. It's still the #1 shoe. And the man hadn't played basketball in 20-something years, Skip.
How do you explain that?
You can't. It's him. And nobody is ever gonna, I don't believe anybody can surpass what he's done with the shoe. You just can't, Skip. He was first. And like you said, they retro. It's not like they're coming out with new Jordans. They're just retroing the old ones. Skip, it's never. I don't believe a North American athlete. Now you might say Cristiano Ronaldo or Messi. Some of those soccer guys rival him in popularity.
Yeah.
But I don't believe you'll find another North American athlete that will eclipse, surpass, or come close to what Michael Jordan was or is.
Thank you. So my history with Jordans, I wear them every day on the show, but I'm old enough to remember when there was no choice but Converse All-Stars, Chuck Taylors. That's all you had.
But you were clean.
When I was
you
in high
get some creased jeans, a white, the high top or the lows, but they came in different colors, Skip. You had the white.
But I'm talking about playing.
Yeah, playing
That's
white.
all you had was you had the white ones or you had the black ones. And that was all you didn't have the red ones or the green ones. Now you got those. Okay. And then all of a sudden, we graduated into Adidas Superstars. And they're low cut, and I had several pair of those because it was the hottest thing, the newest thing on the market.
Kareem wore top 10 Adidas. He was the Adidas guy.
All right. And then all of a sudden, the ones hit in '84, and it took off. But when I actually tried to play basketball in the ones, which I'm wearing as we speak, they just tore my feet to pieces.
I don't know how
he tried to bring them back at one point and play in them. And his feet are all bleeding. He tried to wear them at the Garden when he, in his last, what he thought was going to be his last appearance in the Garden in '98.
Yes.
Okay, and they just ripped his feet. They're actually not made to play basketball in. I don't even get it.
Right.
But they're made to walk around in because they look good.
Right.
And I've tried to play in several. Some of them work and some of them don't. They're not really made to play basketball in, though I'm sure a lot of kids have.
And then Skip, what they found out they started doing, they started out making shoes especially for Michael Jordan. The shoe that was for Michael Jordan to play in wasn't the shoe that they sold in the store. So he had orthotics and he had special, he had special contraptions because he was going to be playing. And now, Skip, most of the time, they don't play basketball in Jordans. They walk around in Jordans. That's an attire. That's for you to go out to a nice event or you go to a basketball game or Skip, you go to a function. People are not really buying Air Jordans to play in them.
They're not. So I do want to compliment LeBron James once again on all the work he's done off the court. Social, racial, justice, commentary, risking his endorsements to take stands that might not be quite up there with Ali or Bill Russell because he didn't have to endure the racism those two had to do as they were breaking through. But still, it took guts, it took courage, it took wisdom. When he speaks, I listen. And Michael just chose, he was almost adamant about it. I don't do that. I'm just an athlete. I'm a really great athlete. I think I'm the greatest ever. But I don't have any interest in speaking about those issues.
Right.
And there was the classic quote, and I'm not sure whether he actually said it or not, that Republicans...
He might have said it, Skip, but it might have been tongue-in-cheek.
I think it was on a bus, you know, back and forth, as you know, like locker room repartee.
Yes.
Hey, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Right.
Okay. So in the biggest picture, he chose not to take that path, but it hasn't derailed him.
No.
It hasn't wrecked him.
But over the last 10 years, Skip, you see he just made a $10 million donation to Make-A-Wish Foundation.
He just did.
He's given $10 million to other charities.
It's a very good point.
And so I think the thing is, I'm a firm believer, Skip, it's never too late to do the right thing. And I know a lot of people like, well, he could have done this so much. And they find, well, that's just tax write-off. Well, you're not giving anything. You can get a tax write-off, too, if you donate some money. So stop trying to criticize someone for doing the right thing, because he could have done nothing, but he chose to do something. It might not be to the magnitude of what you like, but at some point in time, you just got to say, you know what? Kudos. Thank you, Michael. And because we've seen him do this over the last several years, give sums of money to worthy charities and try to make it better for a lot of different people. So, but Skip, we know the acrobatics and the tongue hanging out and the flying through the air. It's the shoe money. It's got to be the shoe. It's got to be the shoe, Skip.
Would you agree with me? Because you've said you've walked into rooms with him, and it almost feels like he levitates in the room. I'm talking about in a suit, you know, not in a basketball uniform.
Skip, ask anybody that's ever been around him for the first time. Ask Shaq. Ask anybody that's ever been around Michael Jordan. I'm talking about the biggest. And Skip, I've been around some, you know, I've met Oprah, I've met Denzel, met Samuel Jackson. I've met some big-time entertainers. Hove, Drake. This man here. Like I said, I don't even feel comfortable talking about it, because I can imagine in biblical times what it was to see the man walk that could walk on water. I can just imagine. I'm not saying he's that, and I don't want to be blasphemous or sacrilegious. But Skip, it does seem like this man is levitating. He doesn't seem real.
He is the closest thing to superhuman I've ever encountered in human life. He had a quality, has a quality about him that was so rare that I felt like I'd never been in anybody's force field like that before. And that force field transferred to the basketball court, to where just the way Tiger dominated golf, where people were afraid of him. His competitors cowered when they looked up on the leaderboard and saw the red number start going up for Tiger Woods. Same for this man. Especially in the second three-peat, it got to the point when he stepped on the floor, they just felt defeated. Because this man can levitate on the basketball court. He will do things that no one's ever done before. And I told you in that year I had of covering the Bulls in '98, the Last Dance season, every night I went to the United Center when they played a home game, the house that Michael built, he would do one thing a night where I'd say, I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's just who he was. Cold-blooded basketball assassin of the highest order. And then he walks it off by stealing the ball from Karl Malone in a Game 6 that Scotty was both sick and injured in. And he scored more than half of their points that night at Utah in Game 6. And remember,
45 or 88 or something?
And no, it was less than 88, I think. But he had 45. And Game 7 was scheduled for Utah. So they were going to have to turn right around in 2 nights and play a Game 7, maybe without Scottie Pippen at all. And he said, no, I got this. And he dribbles the ball up the floor, and he gets away with a little push-off, which was more legal then than it might be now.
Let me ask you this, Skip. You're old enough to remember the Beatles, and you say that's your favorite group.
I know the Rolling Stones are right there, but go ahead. I'll give you the Beatles.
I guess Michael Jackson in his prime, when he toured, and people would faint just to see him or his mere presence, or the Beatles.
I also got to see Michael Jackson in concert, but go ahead. And I saw Prince 3 times in concert, but go ahead.
I guess Michael has to be that if you saw Michael Jackson in his prime,
I did.
I guess that's what you felt. Or you saw the Beatles when they were touring, and now for you, the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I wasn't old enough to actually see the Beatles in concert, but I've seen I saw them on Ed Sullivan that night when they broke the record.
I guess that's something that's comparable.
It is.
When you see Michael Jordan.
I would agree. I'll give you Michael Jackson because at his apex, at his epitome, Thriller, he transcended life.
People would faint just in his mere presence.
That is correct. That's the best comparison that you've made. He's right there in that realm.
Right.
And
was Tyson on the arc?
No, not to me. Just on sheer intimidation and force.
Because Hov had the song, Mike Jackson, Mike Jordan, Mike Tyson.
No, he did.
You know what I'm saying? So
just the phenomenon that was Tyson when you couldn't even get to the middle of the ring before he knocked you out.
Right.
Hitting that apex when he knocked out Michael Spinks.
Yeah, in 90 seconds, 91 seconds.
Yeah, but then he couldn't sustain.
Right.
And it's almost Shaq-like where he didn't keep himself in good enough shape. He just didn't, he couldn't continue, but Michael continued. And again, I've never seen anything like him.
I don't think we'll ever see anything like him.
You know what? I don't think we will either. So happy birthday, Michael Jordan, and congratulations. You're still hot.
He still is. He's going to always be hot. As long as they make those shoes.
Hope it is a fantastic celebratory weekend, MJ. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.